India. So this is a talk about India, about the tigers of India. So for those of you who are still unaware where India is, this is what we're talking about. And in India, we're going to talk about mostly wildlife. I mean, we're not going to talk about the people, which are amazing people for sure, but this is a different kind of talk. So the reason why we go to India is the Bengal tiger. The Bengal tiger, the origin tiger comes from Greek, meaning arrow, and also from Persian, so tigra, meaning sharp or pointed. That's the origin of the name tiger. The scientific name of the tiger is Panthera tigris, so it's part of the Panthera family, the same as lions and leopards and other animals in the same family of Panthera. And it's actually, again, a relative of those big feline cats. The male can weigh up to 350 kilograms. That's about 700 pounds. And the females are around half of that, 170 kilograms. So that's around 300 pounds. And their status is endangered. So unfortunately, their main threat is habitat loss, of course, humans, and hunting, poaching. They are legally protected in India. So since they live in the wild and they have a lot of human wildlife conflicts, encounters, their lifespan is 20 to 25 years in the wild. And they're the second largest species in the cat family, so just second to lions, and basically around the same size. So every tiger has a distinct stripe pattern. This is one of the ways we can tell tigers apart from one and the other. So this is how we categorize them. So a fossil study in China found that the tigers have been roaming the earth for the last 2 million years. So they have been diverging from the Panthera family quite a long time ago. When they roar, they can be heard from 3 to 4 kilometers away by humans, of course, by other cats even further because they have better hearing. But I can tell you that I've heard tigers roar, and of course, you don't know if they're immediately next to you or really far away. There are about 4,500 tigers in the wild, but just 100 years ago, there were around 40,000 tigers. So they are basically 90% extinct. So that's why it's really important to protect them. And since 2010, when they started doing the tiger protection program, the numbers have been increasing by 700 individuals, which is quite a big number compared to the general size of the population. And actually, one of the biggest challenges with tigers is the gene pool. Since there aren't so many tigers left and they are living in these small condensed pockets in natural reserves, they have a lot of inbreeding, which is, again, not good for the gene pool, not good for the health of the tigers. And this is why humans, veterinarians, are actually making sure to breed females with sperm coming from other tigers in India or even from tiger reserves like the one in Tiger Canyon in South Africa, just to diversify the gene pool, which is really important for the tiger's health. So how we arrive in Ranthambore, which is the main topic of today's talk. So we land in New Delhi. So those of you who are coming from the States, there is a lot of direct flights coming in from the US to Delhi. And actually, we were super surprised that the price of business class ticket with Air India coming from the US to Delhi is very cheap. Okay, so around $3,500 or $3,800 business class tickets from US to India, which is, again, amazingly cheap compared to the big distance you need to travel. And of course, business class is much more comfortable for these long flights than flying coach. So we land in Delhi and we immediately go on a car, or unless you come the night before, you sleep next to the airport. We go in a car and a nice minibus, and we drive on the toll road from the highway from Delhi to Ranthambore. It takes around 4.5 hours. We stop usually along the way for some Starbucks or whatever, and then we arrive at Ranthambore in Rajasthan, okay, not far from Jaipur in India. And the reserve of Ranthambore is quite a big nature reserve, as you can see here. So we sleep in a village right next to it. And from here, we go on a daily excursion into the Ranthambore National Park. So the thing to remember with this national park is that it is divided into zones. So when we say zones, we are talking about 9 different zones. And every zone is very heavily regulated. And that's a great thing, because this is how we can protect and conserve nature, which is something we are really, really keen on doing. So when you go on a zone, like let's say you're going to zone 3, you can only go to zone 3 so in the same session. So we have morning sessions, which is just after sunrise until about 10 a.m. And then we have afternoon sessions, which is just in the afternoon until sunset. And this is, again, also to control the amount of time people spend with the tigers, and also giving them time alone. So at night they're alone, and also during midday they're alone. And then we're there at the best light, which is, again, morning, early morning, and of course, just before sunset. So these are the zones. And some zones, this is the main secret to remember here, some zones have amazing tigers and really good sightings, and some zones have nothing. And this is why the main thing to remember when we're going to Ranthambore is which zones are we going for. And this is why we need to make special, I would say, consideration and planning in getting the right permits to the best zones. Now, this year has been very challenging because we have one of the most famous tigers. She died of cancer. I will show you some photos of her. And her cubs actually ate a few locals. Now, usually what happens is when a tiger eats somebody, a person, they usually kill that tiger. But because tigers are so rare and trying to raise the numbers, they didn't kill her cubs, Arrowhead's cubs. Instead, they just relocated them to an area right over here somewhere where there are no people around, just so they can roam where they're not a threat to people. and now that zone basically has almost no tigers left, because Arrowhead is dead. Her 3 cubs have been relocated. So that zone that we were in last year, which was amazing, now is not so good. Other zones, again, we have tigers and cubs, and we have tigers which without cubs. We have areas where they hang out around next to the road and we can't go off-road, and some areas where they're further deep and then we can't see them. So this is Ranthambore. So Ranthambore Reserve is located in Rajasthan. It's a state within India. It covers around 1,300 square kilometers, making it one of the largest reserves in India. So it's pretty massive. It was established in 1955 and declared a national park in 1980. It also has the Ranthambore Fort, which was built in the 10th century, when this area was actually one of the most, I would say, the largest forts in India. And it was a military stronghold in the Rajput kingdoms. Okay, so again, it's quite impressive to watch. And there is a lot of temples, and people come for pilgrimage, and some of those people were actually the ones who were killed by the tiger. And of course, we have several ecosystems within this small reserve. Again, pretty big, but compared to the small reserve, we have a lot of different features. And we also have not just tigers, but we also have leopards, sloth bears, crocodiles, jackals, deers, and over 300 different bird species. So today is one of the most important reserves for tiger conservations in India, just because it's such a big hotspot hotspot for tigers. There are other ones. This is not the only one for sure, but this is one of the most famous ones. So just a quick note, all of the photos you'll see here on this presentation are all from only one expedition I've guided to India. This is photos from January 2025, so this year. And this is all was taken during a week, okay? Just to let you know how successful this is. This is not like the best of the last 10 years or whatever. This is just 1 week, okay? So when we arrive at Ranthambore, of course, we get the local, I would say, welcome with flowers and the tikka. And then we have, of course, food and drinks, again, Indian hospitality. And then we go into the reserve. And in the entrance to the reserve, of course, we go through the fort, as you can see here. We're waiting next to the gate for the gate to open. And once the gate opens, we drive inside the reserve. And when we drive inside the reserve, as you can see, we are racing towards the last area where we saw the tigers so we can get the best sightings. So we have in the front the driver, and we also have next to the driver, we have a local guide that helps find the animals. So of course they are, we have permits to guide and work within the reserve. Not only tigers, of course, everybody thinks about tigers when you think about Ranthambore or India in that aspect. But of course, we also have other animals. In this case, this is the langur monkeys. This is a little baby, a unibrow baby, which was just so adorable to photograph. So just remember, when you talk about tiger safaris, we're not only talking about tigers. There are other animals as well. Personally, I really enjoyed photographing the monkeys. I think they were just as interesting to photograph as the tigers themselves. This is the proctologist. Of course, we also have the people there, which is also interesting. This is in the next to the gate of the reserve. And also, again, the connection between people and animals is always fascinating. And, you know, we are photographers, so we try to photograph wherever we can and tell a story. And I think this is an image that actually tells a story. Not only monkeys, of course, we also have the sloth bears, which are also pretty cool to photograph. So this is a sloth bear. Basically, they're only seen or mostly seen just after sunrise or just before sunset. So they are nocturnal. They don't like hanging out during the day. So this is a sloth bear. And of course, birds. And here we have an eagle with a snake on its foot. And we have a lot of owls, okay, which is also, I love owls, just to be honest about it. So a lot of different kinds of owls in different kinds of photos, and squirrels, which is also something interesting to photograph. And of course, the deer. So we have a lot of deer as well. Again, always good to photograph. We always tell a story. It doesn't have to be just tigers, okay? That's all I'm saying. We have other things to photograph as well. And this is the Ranthambore deer. And the peacock, which is a wonderful bird, and kingfishers. And we have the snakebird eating fish. And we have the vulture and bee eaters. So again, as I mentioned, 300 species of birds and also a lot of other animals. So not just tigers. And when we talk about tigers, okay, speaking of tigers, photographing tigers in the reserve, it looks like this. Okay, so we have the, oh, by the way, if you guys have any questions, the chat is open on my screen. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask on the chat. Okay, so when we photograph tigers, so first of all, I want to remind you, we have to be on the road. So there is not, off-road driving is not allowed. We have to be on the road. And here you can see a mother and her cubs. This is Ridi and her cubs. And you can see the guests I was guiding behind there in the two jeeps. And also I had guests, of course, with me in my jeep. And this is how it usually is. This is a behind the scenes photo. And when we photograph them, we always try to photograph them. Most of the times they will be on the road. Okay, so this is an example of a tiger on the road. So this is very easy. The good thing about the roads, tigers love using the roads because it's easier to walk around than walking through the bush and the shrubs. And also it's open. Okay, so for us, it's easier to photograph rather than photographing through the bush. But one of the things I like to do mostly when I'm photographing is getting some close-ups, okay? Close-ups really help me isolate the subject and also give me the details I love getting. So this is the behind the scenes, okay? You can see me. I'm quite happy because this is the first time, to be honest, that I photographed a tiger. And when we photograph, as you know, we always have a list of photos we'd like to get. And one of my first items on the list is a really, really, really tight portrait of a tiger. And this was the first photo I took, the first tiger I saw. And you can see the tiger on the left. And the photo I got here is the number one on my list of tigers, which is this photo. Okay, so we get the eyes, we get a full frame tiger face looking straight in the camera, and a beautiful portrait that I really wanted to photograph. Okay, so this is the first thing, close up. Another thing I love photographing and recommend photographing when you photograph tigers is behavior. I don't know if you saw the recent reel I posted on Instagram, but I have this tiger stretching. This was taken with the iPhone. Okay, again, I'll explain. This was taken with the iPhone by the guide. So we have the local guide. So I'm holding the camera. I'm photographing with the camera. I gave my iPhone to the local guide and asked him to film it while I'm taking photos. So this is what the local guide filmed with my iPhone, and I'll show you the results in a minute. Okay, so we have the tiger stretching again with the iPhone, wide angle lens, and then the tiger just walks away. Again, this is the behind the scenes. This is what it looks like in Ranthambore. Again, I remind you, this is January. So in January, you also get some foggy days sometimes, which in my opinion makes it even more interesting. So again, this is the behind the scenes. And the results of this photo is this, okay? I'm photographing with a 70mm lens, 2.8, to get this kind of low wide angle-ish photo of this tiger, again, meters, okay, away from my lens. This is actually my favorite photo, one of my favorite photos of the trip. So as you can see, there is a lot of grass and a lot of bush and a lot of shrubs and trees, and it's very difficult to photograph. So one of the things we try to do is, of course, photograph when it's in the open, but even when you shoot through the branches, I mean, the tiger went behind the branches. We couldn't get a clear shot, but you don't want to give up. You just keep on shooting, and I got the photo I wanted by shooting through the branches. So to get this photo, I just focused on the tree on the right. And then once the lens is in the focus area of where the tiger is, now I can click, and then the camera will lock focus on the eye of the tiger, and keep it in focus. So actually, this is also one of my favorite photos from this project, even though it's behind the bush, behind the branches. Some of the guests I was guiding did not take photos because they said I can't take photos when it's in the bush. Okay, no, always try. Okay, you might fail, you might succeed, but try. If you didn't try, you already failed. Okay, another example from the same behavior. Again, the tiger in the mist trying to pose for the camera. So in Ranthambore, you also have a lot of human elements. So this is another behind the scenes. Again, the guide was holding their phone, filming, while I was photographing. So you see the tigers jumping and getting within the fort. So this is in the Ranthambore fort. There are several forts, not just one, but it's a complex. And then once they got in, then they turned around and got out again. And we knew it's going to happen. And this is how we got these photos, again, which are also very exciting for me, photos I really wanted to get again. So we were lucky. So human elements with the tigers also create some really interesting scenes. Another example, you can see the tiger walking, and then we have on the back, we have several structures, again, of the Rapjut kingdom that was here. You can see the tigers. And again, so this is the behind the scenes. The photos I got is here, what you can see on the screen. So regarding lenses, there are several lenses that we carry around. If you ask me, my favorite lens for Ranthambore would be 70 to 200 millimeter or a 300 2.8. Or if you want to get something bigger, 400 2.8 or 600 f4 when they're really far away. So I will show you some photos from the other side of the lake. But 70 to 200 or 24 to 70, especially the 70 to 200, is the most usable lens for Ranthambore for me. Okay, so the behind the scenes looks like this. This is in zone 4. You can see on the Jeep. You can see I'm holding the camera, getting extremely low. Okay, because again, as you know, as a photographer, we try to get as low as possible to shoot from the eye level of the animal or even below the eye level of the animal. So this is how I'm photographing with a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. Again, January, you can see I'm wearing a coat, wearing a hat, photographing from a low angle, breaking some ribs. That's how it is. If you're too comfortable, you must be doing something wrong. So yeah, this is photography, wildlife photography for you. And this is the photo I got from the same angle. You can see I'm shooting from low, getting some grass in the frame to take this photo. Okay, I can't get this photo while sitting nice and comfy in the chair of the Jeep. Okay, another example, 72 to 100 millimeter. This is again 70 millimeter. This is the widest the lens can go. Here you can see Arrowhead on the right. This is one of our cubs that killed a guy on the left. Okay, so this is again with a 200 millimeter. And here a little bit zoom out. Okay, this is also around 100 millimeter, 120 millimeter. You can see Reedy on Arrowhead, sorry, on the left. You can see Arrowhead with the 3 cubs. Again, and this is with 70 millimeter lens. So the wide side of the lens. Again, 70 to 200. 70 to 200 is my main lens for Ranthambore. But sometimes we want a bigger lens. Okay, so here you can see me and again, one of the guests I was guiding. And this is with a 600 millimeter f4 with the built-in teleconverter. And this is to shoot behind the lake. Okay, so when they're further away, here you can see I'm photographing a mother and one of her cubs playing around. Another example, okay, with a reflection. Another example, these are all with a 600 millimeter f4. This is actually with the 70 to 200. I don't know why it's here, but yeah. Another example with the 600. This is another example of a video with a 600 millimeter with a built-in teleconverter. So this is an 840 millimeter with DX mode. So this is times 1.5. So this is at around 1400 millimeters equivalent to get this video in slow-mo of the mother Reedy and her cubs in the other side of the lake. So you can see they're quite stressed because they want to cross, but there is a crocodile in the water. So this is these are the photos, and this is one of the tigers crossing the river. Again, getting some nice photos with the 600 with the built-in teleconverter. shooting from the other side of the lake. Okay, so that's what it looks like behind the scenes. This is another place in Ranthambore with the lake. You can see the screen of the camera with the video recording. This is what the camera sees. Again, and if you look here, this is with a times 2.3 crop factor with the teleconvert. Sorry, not the wrong screen. Here we have the TM times 2.3 crop factor. So this is the X mode at with the TC on, with teleconverter on. So this is 840 millimeters times 2.3, which gives us around almost 2000 millimeters just to get this video that you see here, shot at 4K, 120 frames per second. These are the photos that I got, again, from the lake in Ranthambore. Okay, so there's also leopards, like I mentioned. They're really skittish, so don't count on getting good leopards photos. So again, this is also a cub really far away. Another example, this is behind the scenes. You can see the Jeep. You can see the guests taking photos of the tiger walking on the path. You can see the distance quite close, as you can see here. And of course, after each session, everyone's happy, excited, and checking their photos, which is what we call chimping in the professional terms. Okay, so again, we have everyone happy checking their photos after a session. So that's what it looks like photographing in Ranthambore. This is another one of the group that I'm guiding. And after we finish a week of guiding in Ranthambore, so on Wednesdays, the reserve is closed for tourists. So they give the reserve 1 day to rest. And then on Wednesday, we drive back to Delhi. Again, around 3.5 to 4 hours, 4.5 hours driving, depending on traffic. We're always guiding there 2 guides, so myself and a local guide named Gaurav. This is the Jeep that we use to shoot from. So you can see it's quite high. Only 4 guests in each Jeep, and always try to go for the lower angles. If you want to get lower angles, it's always better to sit next to the driver. That's the lowest point in the Jeep. So always try to be there. And when we go on the Jeep, of course, we go without cameras and without camera bags, sorry. Without camera bags. And then we just go on with the cameras without the bags. So we have room for everybody there. This is where we sleep in Ranthambore Regency. This is the hotel. So this is a very nice hotel. And if you look at why we do it in January, February, so the reason is the temperature. So in January, February, you get an average of 15 to 18 degrees centigrade, of course, Celsius. But if you wait until April, May, it's a nightmare with the temperature. So it becomes really hot. And then later, if you look at July, August, September, the reserve is closed because of the heavy rain going on, the monsoons, okay? So we always try to be there January, February when it's nice and cool and the tigers are more active and there is no rain, okay? Versus the rainy season, which is a nightmare. Hot, humid, and wet. Okay, so yeah, as I promised, this will be a 30-minute talk. This has been 30 minutes. If you would like to join, of course, you're welcome to join. You can contact me through the email and you can contact and sign up. So we have only 1 spot for this year. This year has been going to be very different because there is a lot of floods going on in Ranthambore. And because of the floods and because they moved the 3 cubs that killed the people, we have less tiger opportunities and we have parts of the reserves completely shut down because of the floods, and tigers could be anywhere because of the floods. And this is why we will go, instead of Ranthambore, we'll go to another reserve where we know there are active cubs. I won't say the name of the reserve right now, just because we're trying to avoid the competition. But we're going to go to another reserve. I really want to photograph cubs, tiger cubs, because they're adorable. And of course, if you'd like to join and come and photograph tiger cubs and tigers and other animals as well, let me know. And you're welcome to join. And we'll be in touch. And next week, we're going to do a talk about Antarctica. And yeah, the world is amazing. And I really hope you can join sometime. So again, thank you very much for joining.